What makes entrepreneurs so captivating is that they choose to live with purpose. They choose to seek out their passion and to live it. And that makes them do crazy things. And that's why we love them so much. So I'm going to be welcoming on stage 5 of my friends and successful entrepreneurs from the MELA network, representing Egypt, Jordan, the United Arab Emirates, and Saudi Arabia. And they're going to be telling us a little bit about their journeys and how they took the conscious decision to give up, high-powered corporate careers and start their own ventures. So I'd like to welcome on stage Ali Mortagui from Jordan, Yaseen Abdelghaffar, Egypt, Asmaa Ahmad, the United Arab Emirates, Ahmed Yehia, Egypt, and SolarizEgypt from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. So I'm going to be asking our panelists a few hard questions, and then we'll open it up to your questions as well. And I wanted to start with Ali. Ali was the youngest regional marketing director in his company at the time. He went through a lot of success with Unilever, with ECOGroup, but he decided to give it up and pursue his passion in the food industry. So I'm going to start with Ali, and I'm going to ask you, what were you thinking?
It all started with the food channel, and they used to get, Guy Fieri and Bobby Flay and all that, and they were featuring smoked meats, which is basically smoking meat called brisket or ribs for 12 hours. You get it like very nice, succulent and tender, and I was just basically awed by it. And I was in a very comfortable job. I was in the board of directors, and so a regional marketing director doing, what regional marketing directors do. And I started, cooking, smoking meats in my backyard, and I actually almost burnt the whole building down. It was a long story, but thank God no one got hurt. And I kept cooking and inviting all my friends and family for 2 years, and they said, back in Jordan they said, "Mashan Allah iftah mahal," And so luckily I finished my work around 4 p.m. and I said, why not? I opened a place starting from 6 p.m. to 12. And that's when I started actually opening my place called Brisket. We're actually the first authentic smokehouse in the Middle East. We're the only smokehouse in the Middle East that actually imports its wood to cook our meat. We cook from the States. We use American prime beef. You guys are free to check out the Instagram and Facebook, brisket_Jordan. But basically, I always had in the back of my head that I want to start my own thing. I've been 15 years in the corporate world, business development and marketing, and it all really started and it was triggered by the financial crisis that happened in 2007 or 8. And I said, I just realized in the corporate world or being an employee, you're really not safe per se. You might work in the biggest company in the world, in a Forbes company and whatnot, but at the end of the day, it's impersonal, and I have a problem with that. And it was always in the back of my head, I got to start, pulling my stuff together. And that's basically when I took the main decision, to open my restaurant. And we started in Jordan, we're opening in Abu Dhabi, and we're opening in Saudi Arabia. In the near future, it's just a matter of when that I'm going to open in Egypt. And we're also thinking of opening in the United States, just out of principle, so that's my story in a nutshell. I like making people fat.
Thank you, Ali. So the next time you visit Amman, check out Brisket because it's now one of the top-rated restaurants in Amman and extremely tasty. I can attest to that. Yaseen, tell us a little bit about how hard it was. You were a senior executive at ExxonMobil. You had this great corporate career, and you chose to break off and do your own thing. Tell us about the impetus behind that decision. How did you come to that decision?
I think the initial trigger is when you start to feel that your learning curve is saturated, and that looking at yourself 1 year ago versus today, you're pretty much the same person with the same skill set. And that starts to give an eerie feeling that there's something happening that's not right. And I was very, very lucky that I got some very unfortunate events that helped me to take the leap of faith into starting a new business after having a very stable corporate career. And it was right after the revolution, and I got kidnapped, and I was very close to losing my life. And I emerged from that starting to thinking very existentially about my values and what my career represents to me. And I was lucky that that happened, and it was kind of like an early midlife crisis. And after thinking a lot, I started looking at the problems that were there in Egypt and thinking that actually really great businesses don't start from wonderful solutions, they start from real problems. And back in 2013 in Egypt, power cuts were just becoming a way of life. And it didn't make any sense to me how a country like Egypt with so much sunlight, even here in December you can see the sun, and we still have an energy crisis. So that's how we got started. We jumped into it head first, sold my old car, typical entrepreneur story, and fast forward 5.5 years later, we're now selling electricity that's cheaper than government electricity, which is made by solar through meters. So we go to big corporate clients and we're able to sell electricity at a discounted price to government. And I'm very proud to say we have more than 30 megawatts of projects signed. That's creating around 350 job opportunities and really making an impact. So, best decision of my life.
Thank you. Our next panelist, Asmaa Ahmad, has been making headlines lately. She created a wonderful initiative called Zaha, named for her grandmother. And essentially what she wanted to do, and again, she was in a high-profile corporate career. She was a regional director at one of the leading consulting agencies. And she broke off because she wanted to pursue her passion to create borderless journeys, to bring people together through a platform that opens up cultures through storytelling and through food as well. So she has a wonderful initiative. I'll leave her to tell us a little bit about how she took the decision and the leap of faith to jump from Ernst & Young into Zaha.
Thank you. So to me, I couldn't spot a specific moment where actually I decided just to quit and start my own venture or pursue my true calling. But it's been a journey of me understanding my insecurities in life and also have a better understanding of my uniqueness. So at the age of 7, my parents left Kuwait back to Palestine, and I experienced some sort of cultural isolation, so I could not relate to the surrounding environment. So that was the pain. And in 2009, I moved to the UK to pursue my education, and there I experienced cultural isolation again, and it was on my own, and the only way for me to start to bond with people and relate to the surrounding environment was by opening up and articulating a bit more about two aspects of my culture, that are basically people and emotions. So I created a safe space for people, for other students as well, to come out and share their own experiences. So that was the beauty and power of empathy. But I did not have the courage at that time and the consciousness that the moment you identify your passion in life, you try to get hold of it and build something interesting around it. It took me until last year, where I was working for one of the consultancy firm and in the region. I was engaged and I was doing very well, and in a span of 2 weeks I let go of my career. My father fell seriously sick, and so unexpectedly I broke up with my fiance, and there I was questioning, where is the source of power that comes from within that no one can take it away from me? So last year I only had the courage to pursue my true calling. So we're creating solutions through Zaha to tackle the cultural isolation that people experience in cosmopolitan cities or refugee communities through exploring the intangible heritage of the cultures, the emotions and people. So I've leveraged both the pain and the passion to create a meaningful solution for communities that I've been part of.
Thank you. Ahmed Yehia was a manager of Vodafone Egypt when he decided he was really, really into ecotourism. So he broke off and he started the ECOGroup, which now manages a number of projects. I'm going to leave Ahmed to tell us a little bit about how he identified his passion and then ran with it. at all of the exciting projects that he's working on now.
Thank you, Ranya. So I used to be an architect. I graduated from architecture. I worked for an architect for 2 years. But the problem is when you graduate from the college, you have a dream of your future job. And when you get into the business, you are not fulfilling the dream. So I wasn't working the thing that I was dreaming of. So I decided I will continue studying. So I studied computer science and graduated from computer science, worked for Vodafone in the IT department for 6 years. But later I figured out that's not for me. I'm not an IT engineer, I don't like it. An opportunity appeared in the Vodafone marketing department, so I applied, I got accepted, and I moved to the marketing and strategies. But then I realized that I'm always driven by external incident. I didn't decide what I want to do. And when I thought about it, what is the thing that when you do, you have a big smile in your face, and at the same time, people gives you a very good feedback about it. And I found out that is traveling. When I travel and when I take people with me in traveling, people give me a very unique feedback. You are different doing these things. So I decided I'm quitting the corporate life after 13 years in Vodafone. Vodafone is a school. I learned everything related to business in Vodafone, so I love them. But it's time for me to fulfill a dream. And my dream was to create a travel business in Egypt that promotes something different, which we call it ecotourism, السياحة البيئية. When I started my company 2014, we started doing lots of adventures inside Egypt, whether in the Western Desert, Eastern Desert, Sinai Mountains, the Red Sea, the Mediterranean, the diving, everything related to ecotourism. And while traveling, I found an island in the middle of the Nile, in the Nubian area, between the High Dam and the Aswan Dam. And an idea came up in my mind. Why don't we convert this island, abandoned island that have houses, old houses, nobody is living there, why don't we convert it into an eco-lodge, eco-friendly hotel out of these old buildings? We started that. I start calling my mentors who helps me always in my business, asking them, search for investors for me. And guess what? The mentor says, why should we search? We are here. We will be your investors. So they start pumping money in the project, and 3 weeks ago, we opened our first eco-lodge in Nubia, that's called Eco Nubia, and it's very unique place where everything done from an eco-friendly material, an experience that people really, really appreciate right now. We got into the food business like Ali because we have a Nubian restaurant inside the eco-lodge that provide only Nubian food, and people come and say, wow, this is the first time to know that Nubians has a different food than like normal food, and they appreciate it and love it. So this is the journey. I think I'm fulfilling my dream right now. I'm doing the thing that keep me smile. And by the way, it's not an easy thing. Doing the thing that you love, it means that you'll be cleaning toilets at a point of time. And I did that during my previous year. So that's normal. So yeah, chasing your dream is something really, really hard, and you have to be very persistent to do. But you will have an inner peace doing that. So I wish you all doing your dreams one day. Thank you.
Thank you. Salarizegypt is she's a celebrated PR practitioner. She co-founded TRACCS with her brother, and it's now one of the leading PR and marketing agencies in Saudi Arabia. She had the opportunity, to do whatever she wanted to do in any industry. She's been listed on the Forbes list of most influential women in the Middle East. So she's here to tell us a little bit about, why she chose to take that route and start a business instead of going the corporate route, as many of us do.
Thank you, Ranya. I didn't choose PR, I think it chose me. To just give you a bit of history, I graduated from high school. My dream was to be in the fashion industry. So I was studying, I studied modeling, etiquette and grooming. I was enrolled in one of the top universities in Boston, and then the shocker came. My mother's like, nope, you're not going to the States alone. You go with one of your brothers, or you can come back to Saudi Arabia and study at King Abdulaziz University. So from fashion and fashion merchandising, I had no choice but to come back. I didn't want to go live with one of my brothers. They're older than me. They were going to graduate within 1 year and come back. What do I do next? I had my entire life planned out. So from my entire life planned out, I had no plan B. I came back to Saudi. I went to King Abdulaziz University. I couldn't study anything except for English literature and linguistics. So I graduated not knowing, so what do I do next? I started working at a computer network company. They worked with one of the Aramco and Saudi Arabian Airlines. They do all the LANs and modems, which I don't know if any of you know that, but before internet, everything was through modems and connections. And then my brother came back and said, listen, you're not doing anything that you're enjoying. You're going to a job 9 to 5. Give me 1 year. Join me. I want to launch. I want to revamp what is the communications industry for Saudi Arabia and maybe the Arab world. Who knows? Come 1 year. Give me that 1 year. If you don't like it, leave. But for now, let's start something together. Let's build something together. And from that, I was hooked. I loved it. I love working with people. I have a passion. I mean, my specialty is crisis management. So give me a disaster and I can fix it just by talking. And I realized I love talking a lot. I'm sure you guys have noticed. And I love people. I find, like Zaha, I think people have stories, and sometimes you can find solutions just by listening to people's stories and listening to the other side of it. And that's something that MELA has really brought out in us. So from fashion to English literature, where I thought I'd be a teacher, to computer network company, into PR, and I found my niche and I never looked back.
Thank you. So on Sada's point, the MELA Leadership Network really does underline lifelong learning. So I'm going to come back again to our panelists and ask them, in hindsight, if you could go back and do it again, what would you have done a little bit differently? What did you learn now that you could have applied earlier? Ali?
Well, if I could turn back time, the only thing that I'd do differently is I wish I started sooner. Well, the thing is, I just want to make something very clear, right? Because we're in this MELA, which is MELA, Middle East Leadership Academy. We're all alumni of the MELA. And to be honest, this project of mine, or this lifestyle, because again, do what you love and you'll never work another day. And that's really it. When you're doing what you're doing, when you own what you're doing, you really don't work another. It becomes more of a lifestyle. And it would have never happened before joining MELA. And I just, when I joined MELA, I came up with this one phrase that really changed everything. I know it's cliche and we hear it every day, but which is basically do what you love and the money is a byproduct. The thing is, when we get too fixated on money, who doesn't? Who isn't? And that's why not everyone, a very small percentage of the population, can actually make his, or her own thing. Do what you love. It's a cliche. Find your center. I used to work, when I founded Brisket, it was a 30-meter square shop. I used to finish my high status job in my suit and tie, and then when I finish after work, and I used to clean my shop, I used to cut my meat, I used to, grind my burgers, and I used to sell, I used to do everything. It was a shop of 2 people. And now we're like, in the main shop in Jordan, we're like, around 15 people. Plus, of course, the regional expansions. I wish I'd done it sooner, I'd do it all over again for sure. And, just find what you really love. And trust me, everything will fall in place. Don't get too sucked in, systems that have been forced on us. Just find yourself, and everything will be, natural.
Yaseen?
Yeah, for me it would definitely be something along the lines of enjoying the journey and having more fun doing it. A lot of times as an entrepreneur, you're grinding, you're hustling, you're fixated on signing that contract, and you're plowing through life waiting for that special moment when it all happens. But if you think about it in retrospect, those 5-6 hours that were suddenly gone because you were so fixated on that one task and you're so adamant on achieving it and believing in its importance, those 5 or 6 hours of time that just flew by without you knowing where they went, these were probably the best 5-6 hours of your year, your month, whatever. So it's really about being able to take a step back and looking what you've achieved, what you're doing, and how aligned it is with your values, and making sure that you're enjoying every single moment from those minutes.
Asmaa?
I think I need to remind myself more of how to enjoy the journey again. Because when you're doing something, when you're pursuing your true calling, you're very much pulled forward with your passion, and you always want to achieve more, you always want to do more, and no matter how hard you work, you still feel it's not enough. I should have done this, I should have done that. So yeah, I need to remind myself more. It's a journey. Rome was not built in one day. That's one thing. And I'm still working on creating a balance between staying open and receptive to the constructive feedback and filtering out the mean-spirited critiques, because it's a very emotional journey. You come across people that you would remind them of their limitations and their fears, then you'd come across people who you would remind them of their potential. So those who are actually cheering for you because they see some sort of resemblance of themselves in you, and those that you remind them of their limitations, they would try, to tell you not to do this, or you're taking too much risk. So bringing more consciousness to the journey, it's a work in progress kind of thing. From execution perspective, not the personal development perspective, I think it was too early for me to invest in creating a platform. And I've realized this recently, and it took me lots of courage to pull myself out from this investment, which happened last week before I came to Cairo. So yeah, so this is from execution perspective. I would have focused more on creating the content rather than investing in building a platform.
Great, thank you. Ahmed?
I was lucky to build 2 companies, and that helped me a lot to learn in the second company what I did wrong in the first company. And the biggest mistake that I did in the adventure company, which was in 2014, is it was a one-man show thing. I was responsible of everything. I'm the investor, I'm putting my own money in the company, I'm running the show, and nobody to put any pressure on me, and that was a mistake. I figured out that was a mistake when I built the second company, which is the ECOGroup, the project in Nubia, because it has investors. It's not about the money that they are putting in the project, it's about the pressure that they are putting on you. Because if I didn't have investors that keep calling me, asking me about updates, I wouldn't finish the project. Because the person who has a passion toward things, he always wants to perfect it. And he would never think about money, like returns, like revenues, like profits. And this is the role of the investor. Come, okay, stay grounded, look at tomorrow, please bring some money back because we are putting money in you to give us a return. So this pressure turned everything around in the second company. And now if I'm opening a third company one day, even if I have the money, I would look for investors just to put a pressure, just to make me grounded, just to follow up on me. So this is my advice for anybody who's starting his new job. Look for investors, but the investor's role is not about only money, it's about putting pressure on you, and enjoy that pressure because it's healthy, it's for your benefit. You'll have some days, dark days of, I wish they don't exist. But that's normal. And I'm really appreciative for them now after finishing our project and opening right now. So investor role is a key role, or partners, whether investors or partners.
Thank you. Zaha?
What would I do differently? I would not terms of aggressive, I would not question myself. What do I have to lose? You know, we always wait for somebody to give us an opportunity, and sometimes the opportunity comes and you don't ask for it or do it, and it's gone. So my new mindset has always been for quite a while is that what do I have to lose in asking? Are they going to say no? Fine, I can move on. But you never know if somebody's going to say yes. So grasp at every single part, and the crazier the better. You know, shoot for the moon, you'll get the stars. I didn't do that before. I was always waiting, so I was very hesitant. I know that the regulations say no, so I won't do it. Well, you know, you ask. Don't fight it, but ask for it. And one of the things I've realized is I'm working on this massive project that require a lot of funding, and it's for one of our social philanthropy projects, and it's education. And the promise is that we would love to educate 1,000 young girls by 2030, or 1,500 young girls in university. So once they graduate from high school, they go to university, and it's dealing with refugee students from Jordan. And the cost is very high. So I said, who can I get money from to get? All we want is just to pay for the tuition, nothing else. We have a full team that's doing everything behind the scenes, but I cannot pay for the tuition. So I sent a letter to one of the government entities, and the answer was, meet us next week. So, so that's, just go for it. Don't, you have nothing to lose. They say no, fine, I'll find something else to do. So even if we don't get the funding, just the idea that they said, come next week, so I'm flying to Riyadh next week, I have a meeting at the ministry, and who knows what they'll say, but at least you open the door and you keep that dialogue open. So, go for it.
Wonderful. So we have time for one more question before we open up to your questions. So I wanted to ask the panelists, we always say that your network is your net worth. So which network was most important, most vital to you during the growth of your businesses, the growth and the establishment of your businesses?
Well, as I said earlier, I mean, for me, the most important network that actually made it all happen, I really doubt it would have happened otherwise. I mean, it's that, in my case, it's that extreme, which is the Middle East Leadership Academy, or MELA. And, in so many ways it helped me in terms of the knowledge, in terms of the resources, in terms of the physical resources. Actually, I found my location through the network. And, people ask me, like, okay, what's this MELA thing you're talking about? In summary, and maybe I've been slightly over-amplifying it, but if, one joins MELA and he or she has a dream, and he or she could not achieve that dream while in MELA, then most probably he or she will never actually achieve that dream. I mean, maybe I'm a bit over attached to my network, but you know what? At the end of the day, Brisket, which has been the #1 restaurant on TripAdvisor in the Kingdom of Jordan for 3 years among 600 restaurants, and yes, it's owned by an Egyptian, which is me. It works, and that's basically, the whole benefit of my network. So yes, networks are important. The heart, and to stick to your guns in pursuing what you believe will make a difference to your surroundings.
Thank you. Yaseen?
I think I have a lot of networks to thank. Injaz, one of them, Rise Up, Endeavor, and definitely MELA. And I would say that unfortunately a network is only a network if you use it. And a lot of people confuse knowing a lot of people and having a lot of contacts for your ability to use them in the right way to enable your business. So I would put emphasis on that as well. And I think a key point here to consider is that you need to build your personal brand. And a lot of times when we're in Egypt and we have a new idea, a lot of people think, I don't want to be sharing this idea with anyone because they're going to use it or they're going to do something with it. Dari ala sham'atak ti'id and that kind of thought. But you'd be surprised how we got our first couple of customers. Just sitting in an Uber, having a driver asking you what you do for a living, and then you start telling him passionately about your business, and before you know it, you're having a client calling you, asking you to do their house in solar, and they want to install a solar panel. So there's a lot of power and a lot of merits to be able to pitch your business in the right way, not being afraid that anybody who has your idea will be able to do it better, because if you really believe in it and you already have the momentum of starting, then believe in yourself that you're going to be the best person to implement it.
Thank you. Asmaa.
Alhamdulillah, I would say I've been very, very, very blessed to have people around me just looking at them in the eyes, they make me feel home. And most of them are here from MELA, and most of them based in Cairo. So I feel like I can resort to them. I can share my confusion with them. I wouldn't think that I'll be judged. So it helped me a lot. Like yesterday, I was sitting with Ayuti and Nahla. We're going through the strategy for building the platform and the content creation. And then in the evening with Ranya, we're sitting on sponsorship proposal. So most importantly, they've been there for me to manage my emotions and to remind me of my potential. So yeah, alhamdulillah, I'm very grateful.
Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you. I cannot emphasize the importance of the network. It's very, very, very important. And actually, your role is to create your own network. So if I'm graduated from the college and I have 2 years of experience, what is my network? It's almost nothing, because I do have my family and friends and the new people in the new job that I have. So this is a very small network. You need to build a business network, a social network, an entrepreneur network if you can. So I do appreciate my 13 years in Vodafone, not because of the things that I learned in Vodafone, but because the network I did during my Vodafone years. I have lots of contacts in my phone that I can call anytime asking for help, whether it's business help or even financial help. By the way, the investors that I do have, they were my colleagues in Vodafone. So that's how the network can help you. The network is so important, and they will open your eyes toward some things in the business that you would never think about. For an example, one of my investors asked me in the beginning of the project, okay, Ahmed, when are you planning to sell the company? I said, what? I'm not planning to sell the company. No, you have to think about that, because one day you might sell it. Don't get really attached to the company, because everybody sells their companies. So that was an eye-opener for me, and I wouldn't think about it if I don't have the right network to give me the right advices. MELA, for example, is a business network that introduced me to the people in the Middle East. Now I have people in Oman, I have people in Kuwait, I have people in Saudi Arabia, I have people in Jordan that I talk to them in a business level and friendly level too. But the nice thing, the Omani guys called me like a year ago asking me, Ahmed, we would like to open an ecotourism project in Oman. Are you interested to come and help us? Of course, I'll do that. So network opens opportunity for you. That's the importance of the network.
Thank you. Sarah?
The network is very important on all levels, but whatever you get from the network is also how much you give to it. And for me, my networks are not just about working or relationships and friendliness. It's remembering people. For example, on your how many contacts do we have on our phones? Those are networks. I have 1,500 contacts on my phone. I know every single person of them. I might not see them every day. Some people I haven't seen in years. But everybody, for example, all my Muslim friends will receive a message personalized in Ramadan. الغالية رانيا نهلة سارة كل عام وانت بخير رمضان مبارك. You know why? Because I'm personalizing. I'm remembering you even if I haven't seen you in years. And when it's personalized, not just a mass message, then I get a response back. Every single person on my network, whether it's from ministers to friends I was with in high school, they get that message, and it really does pay off, because you never, when you remember the person and you personalize it, and you're speaking and saying their name versus just speaking in a group, you're continuing to build that rapport. Networks are very important, whether MELA and the friendships that we've had throughout the years. MELA for me I was at a crossroads. It was a beautiful experience that had a fundamental change in my life. And other networks, my high school friends, my university friends, entrepreneurial networks, national program networks that I'm part of, every single one of them, I speak to them, I'm there for them, and they know that if they need me at any time, I am there. If there's anything I can do, even if it's just to pick up a phone call, pick up the phone and call somebody and say something or recommend something, I will do that. And in exchange, I know that they would do the same for me. And that's how we grow, that's how we develop, that's how we see each other. Just the relationships that we've developed when we came to this 3-day summit, people coming up to you and talking to you and exchanging numbers. If we don't make a connection, at least by a message, within a year, then what have we really developed? So a network is, as much as you want to take from it, is how much more are you willing to put within it? And it's one by one, it's an individual basis, not just a group.
Brilliant. Thank you all. We'd like to take some of your questions, just very quickly. And I'd like Yaseen to answer this one. How can you know your passion, or what are you supposed to do? One may keep searching for years. How to start?
I think there are two things you can do. I have this formula for myself, and there are 5 days in a working week, right? For me, I allow myself 1 or 2 days where I feel like I'm getting out of bed to go to work is a challenge. If that ratio exceeds 1 or 2 days, and I'm dragging myself out of bed just waiting for the weekend to be living, then I'm definitely in the wrong place. But having that feeling that you can't wait to get out of bed because you have this new idea to implement, you're on the verge of signing a contract, you're about to have this awesome person join your team and take it to the next level, then you're doing the right thing. And the second part is be humble enough to listen and see your surroundings, because a lot of times other people will tell you about how passionate you are and how good you are at doing things. So you need to be able to review all the conversations that you have and be actually listening to people, so when they tell you your energy level is extremely different when you're talking about solar or the potential for solving this specific problem, that's an indication that your passion lies somewhere there.
Our second question, I want to ask Asmaa, since you're one of the most resilient entrepreneurs that I know. As an entrepreneur, how can you keep yourself motivated?
As part of the journey, the emotional roller coaster is something that would happen each and every day, and you would come across your fears and insecurities. You would see them at zero distance, and it happens to me often, almost every week, where I feel like I'm completely, I need just to shut down, and I need just like to lie down and stare, at the ceiling, and it happens very often. So whenever it happens, I just let it happen. I let it until it subsides, and then I try to understand what triggered that feeling in me and try to understand what's behind it. It's telling me something about myself. It's telling me something about my insecurities. It's telling me something that's bothering me, that people are reminding me of. So the more you leverage the journey to understand more about yourself, the more interesting it becomes, and the more curiosity you'll have. So it's not only about building a financially sustainable venture. It's more about creating an outlet through which you're experiencing your creativity in a different form. So if you look at it this way, it becomes kind of fun.
It does. Sada, how do you know you're heading towards a dead end?
That's a tough one. How do you know you're heading to a dead end? You keep trying and you keep trying and you look at different ways, and you take every single challenge that you face and you try to find ways around it, or what can I do, or how can I speak to somebody. One of the things that I do, I have this little exercise. When you have a bracelet or a necklace, it becomes knotted and it does not open, it's just really tight. Okay, when I have a lot of those sometimes, or I knot them on purpose, and I just sit, I would spend hours, really, it's a very meticulous task, but I would sit hours, and I have to do it, and without a pin, I would do it with my fingers, okay? Keep pulling with your nails, and people are like, leave it, send it to a jeweler, they can open. But I do it, and when I do, if it opens, it means I was able to solve this, then I can solve what I'm going. If it doesn't, or I leave it for a day, it means maybe step back, leave it for now, and you might be able to come back to it and do something else. But you have to get out of the problem and do something that is completely irrelevant, and it might give you that insight. But it's not a dead end, it means you quit. It means it's not the time for it now. Wait. Its time will come. Put it on the side, keep it in the back of your mind, but never think something is a dead end, because there's always the learning behind it, you can do something else.
Brilliant. Thank you.
I answered that one too, like the dead end thing. Well, you see, in my humble opinion, the main reason, of course, building on what Sarah said, of course, the main reason of success is basically one word. If you want to get anywhere, you think you'll get anywhere, what you must have is grit, all right? Now, are you in the dead end? It depends. Did you actually go all the way down to the pits of hell, reaching out for what you believe in and got back, that's a question you need to play. See, honesty to ourselves is key, that it's a blind spot we do not see. Like, we really need to be honest. Am I better in what I'm doing? For real. Be honest about that. Do I have something different? Do I have something unique? Why do I want to do what I want to do? What's different what's the extra edge that I'm providing so I can become an entrepreneur? The dead end is relative. The dead end, in my opinion, it's all here. Just how much grit do you have, and how much, persistence, because that's really what differentiates from the men from the boys, or from the the young the girls from the ladies. So yeah, you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's just my 2 cents on that, building on what Sarah said.
Thank you. Ahmed, does corporate experience help, or is it a waste of time?
Okay, let me take you on a quick timeline for my corporate journey. I started working in the corporate in Vodafone in 2000, in the IT. In 2005, I found out that this is not for me. I'm not doing the thing that I love. So I decided I'm quitting and starting my own business. So what is your business? I don't know, but I want to do my own business. Okay, in order to do your own business, you need to learn how to do business. So I thought I need to do an MBA. That's the moda at that time, to do an MBA. But I received an advice from one of the senior managers telling me, Ahmed, why don't you move to another department inside Vodafone? And in that department, you can learn business. What is that department? Move to marketing. In marketing, you will learn everything about business. And marketing of a big company, multinational company, is a school. It's better than doing an MBA. After that advice, 1 year after that advice, an opportunity came up. I applied, I got accepted, surprisingly, because usually marketing wouldn't take people from IT. Why? But I got accepted and I moved to marketing. My plan was, let me learn what do they do in marketing for 4 years, and then I'm quitting. The 4th year was 2011, and that was the revolution year. So everybody, no, don't leave now. You cannot build business in 2011. So that made me staying for another 2 years, and 2013, I quitted and I started my own company. Without the 6 years of marketing and strategies that I learned in Vodafone, I wouldn't reach that success that I'm reaching right now. So corporate life is an extremely important. I would advise everybody who's still young, get into the corporate. Learn how business run before opening your own business. Learn from others' mistakes, not your mistake, because you'll do your own mistakes later. But the corporate life is a school. Thank you.
Thank you. Our time is up, so I'm going to conclude with going back to what Ali said earlier. Do what you love, and the money is a byproduct. So thank you all for being here. Thank you to Rise Up. Thank you to all of our panelists.
Thank you.